Before you listen to this BBC podcast, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Stevie Middleton, and I'm a BBC commissioner for a load of sport podcasts. I'm lucky to do that at the BBC because I get to work with leading journalists, experienced pundits, and the biggest sports stars. Together, we bring you untold stories and fascinating insights straight from the players' mouths. But the best thing about doing this at the BBC is our unique access to the sporting world. What that means is that we can bring you podcasts that create a real connection to dedicated sports fans across the UK. So if you like this podcast, head over to BBC Sounds where you'll find plenty more.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, keeping you up to speed with all the news, views and analysis you need. It's the evening of Sunday the 12th of May as we record. I'm Andrew Petrie and it's been another seismic weekend in the national game.
Hoylett gives it to Clarkson who steps over it. It's Bojan Miovski. It's 3-0 Aberdeen.
Is the pressure mounting on Montgomery after Aberdeen hammer Hibs? Also,
here comes Maida down the left, taking on Tavernier, hitting the byline, pulls it back, cuts it again! It's come off a Rangers defender, and Celtic score twice in a couple of minutes! And the title looks to be all theirs now!
With Celtic on the brink of the title, where was the Old Firm won and lost? And
Bradley again, Shinnie! Incredible! Livingston lead, St Johnstone are stunned.
We'll discuss the battle to avoid the relegation playoff spot after Ross County and St Johnstone both taste defeat.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Well, today I'm joined by former Celtic defender and Hibs manager Alan Stubbs, as well as former Aberdeen, Ross County and Rangers defender and Motherwell's under-18s head coach Richard Foster. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have you with us. I hope you've been enjoying the sunshine this week.
No. Been working all weekend.
Yeah, fair enough. That's our summer been and gone. Well, there's loads to get through it with Alan and Richard, but first, let's round up the latest Scottish football headlines. Celtic are on the verge of claiming the Premiership title after beating Rangers 2-1 on Saturday afternoon. The result leaves them 6 points clear of their Glasgow rivals, with a superior goal difference and just 2 games left to play. Elsewhere on Saturday, Kilmarnock secured fourth and a place in the Europa League second qualifying round, the 1-0 win away at St Mirren. Dundee's European ambitions were dealt a blow by their 3-0 defeat to Hearts at Tynecastle. Ross County and St Johnstone both failed to win in the battle to avoid 11th place, the former losing 5-1 at home to Motherwell, with the latter being beaten 2-1 at already relegated Livingston. Finally, in the top flight, Aberdeen crushed Hibs 4-0 at Easter Road on Sunday afternoon, with 16-year-old debutant Fletcher Boyd rounding off the scoring. And in the SWPL, Celtic remain ahead of Rangers on goal difference at the top of the table after the two teams secured wins over Partick Thistle and Glasgow City, respectively. Well, we'll get on to the Old Firm shortly, but as it's only just finished as we record, let's start at Easter Road. Hibs 0, Aberdeen 4. Did either of you see that scoreline coming?
No, to be honest. And that's full credit to, full consideration to both Aberdeen and Hibs. Thought it would have been a lot tighter than that. Both teams obviously being in the bottom six is disappointing for them, and I just thought that there would be some sort of reaction for Hibs going against an Aberdeen side who, again, have been a bit inconsistent this season, but I did not see a 4-0 to the away team coming.
We'll try and stick with the positives. For Aberdeen, that's 3 wins in a row, 7 undefeated in the league under Peter Leaven. How's he managed to get them playing so well, Alan?
Obviously, it's a difficult job when you've got someone waiting in the wings to come in and take over. But I think what he's done, he's just steadied the ship a little bit, because I think Aberdeen were not in a great place, and he knows the players. And I think what he's just done, I think he deserves a lot of credit, because he's gone about it efficiently, and he's slowly but surely started to progress Aberdeen. When I say up the table, in terms of results from the bottom half, he's guided them away from the danger areas where they realistically, you've got two big clubs in Scotland in the wrong end of the table, and I think that's where, especially now from Nick Montgomery, I think that's where the pressure starts to build, because they would have had expectations this season of, being in that top four, Hibs, and it's all gone wrong. And Aberdeen realistically now are just trying to, probably the players are looking for to prove to the new manager that they want to be part of his team going forward when he does eventually arrive in the summer.
You touch on the new manager there, Jimmy Tilleen. Richard, how much of a cause for optimism is there for Aberdeen fans next season?
I think when a new manager comes in, there's always that kind of, you talk about the manager bounce, there's always that optimism. And I think his record, he builds teams, he develops teams, he play, they're on the front foot, they press high up the pitch. Now I know to do that you need the players to do that in the right areas. So there's going to be a turnover of players at Aberdeen. He's going to have the opportunity to bring in the players that he feels that he needs in the areas he feels he needs them in. But I think they can be optimistic, but I still believe Aberdeen need to be realistic as well. The fans, I think if you think the manager's going to come in and fight Hearts for third, I think firstly it's quite disrespectful to all the other teams and Hearts themselves, but also that just heaps huge pressure on another new manager. I think if Aberdeen are to finish fourth or fifth next season, that's progress. And then can they build from there? I think they need to give Tilleen time. Having said that, he might come in and they might, set the head of the light and really take off, and they might go and challenge for third and fourth position. But I think that's a more optimistic viewpoint. But I think looking at it practically, realistically, I think just get them playing good football, make Pittodrie a bit of a fortress, make it horrible for teams to go up there and play, and look to get into the top six next season. And from that, you can build. There's no point trying to run before you can walk.
When you look at the two teams and all, you look at where Hibs are and you look at what Aberdeen have just done. At the beginning of the season, or even during the season when they've appointed their managers, they were talking about building the teams, but giving the managers time to be able to get it together because they know it's not been right. And you look at Jimmy Tilleen, he's built teams back where he was and he's been given time, and it's totally different. And I think it's okay saying this, but to actually put it into practicality are two completely different things. So the club have to give these managers 100% trust to be able to build, and most importantly is be strong and be brave when times are not right. To be able to you back the manager, because there's no point saying we're going to give time, we want to go in a different direction. It's the same with Nick Montgomery. At Hibs, the two clubs in a very similar situation. They're looking to build, they want stability, but before you know it, with Nick Montgomery at Hibs, they're in the wrong end of the table. It's been a really disappointing season. This is where you see how strong the people who employ these people are, and I think the next couple of results for Nick Montgomery are going to be so vital, because today is necessarily not going to help him in terms of the pressure from the fans on the board, or more so. I think a lot of eyes and fingers are getting pointed towards the recruitment at Hibs more so.
Well, at time of recording, Nick Montgomery is still the Hibs manager. Obviously, he was told by the board that results needed to improve. They've not. Today's result, 4-0 against Aberdeen, they really didn't lay a glove on them. And in that second half in particular, were really poor.
It's a real disappointing result, embarrassing result, to be honest, at home. It's not what anyone wanted, but it is what it is. We can't change it, and players go over and you clap the fans. When you win, they're happy. When you lose, they're not happy. So yeah, it's disappointing when you lose and fans go out of the stand. But that happens all over the world, in every league in the world. But it's not something that you want to see, and it's difficult. That's when you have to stay strong and keep believing in what you believe in. And for the players, I made a big point of them, because that didn't used to happen. I made a big point that no matter what happens, you go and clap the fans, and they can show the frustration. That's normal, but go and clap them, because they've come to support you today, and you've let them down. So again, we let them down today.
How much pressure is he under? Do you expect him to have a couple of fixtures to try and turn this around a bit?
Well, I hope he does. I think we're too quick, as Alan spoke about there. We're too quick to just promise managers time, and then it doesn't go quite as planned, and then they sack the managers. And in recent times, Hibs have done that quite often. And it's not worked. They're finding themselves with another new manager in the bottom end of the table. Now, fans pay their money every week, and they've got more right to a say on what happens than I do. Of course they do. And, you know, I'm not sure what the reaction will be today. I can only imagine it's not great. And there'll be people calling for his name. So, therefore, it's their club. And if that's what they want, and they want the continuous turnover of managers, and they then need to live with the inconsistent performances. But I hope he gets the time. I hope he finds a couple of results, not on Wednesday, obviously. I hope he finds a result in the last day of the season. But you never like to see managers get the sack. You know, it's a kind of industry now where I'm involved with myself. But even when you played, you don't want the continual turnover from managers. But I think going back to where we started this about the positivity of the game today, I think we need to highlight Fletcher Boyd.
Put it across the Sockler on the edge of the 6-yard box into the middle, and it's Fletcher Boyd who scoops it high into the roof of the net, and the 16-year-old marks his Aberdeen debut with his first Aberdeen goal, and he is mobbed by his teammates in front of the travelling support. What a moment for Fletcher Boyd.
I know you were probably going to build into that, but played against him with under-18s. Very, very clever football player. He's born in 2008. Put that into perspective, make us all feel old.
Thanks,
so he's still only under 16s. But he plays under 18s, and he's had a fantastic season. To see him come on and score on his debut was superb, so full credit to him. But yeah, he's I look at my son and think he's young, and he's only 3 years older than my son, so it makes us all feel old, that.
Right hand side, Lawrence comes to meet him. McGregor spins away from goal, rolls it back left feet and finds O'Reilly!
Let's get on to Saturday's dramatics. Celtic 2, Rangers 1. Firstly, we'll just look at the game itself. Is that a fair result, do you think?
I think it probably was. I think Celtic started the better, and then Rangers came into it and both teams had chances. And then I missed I was in the car driving to the game, missed a 10-minute period and came back to 2-1. I thought they were talking about the last game and Celtic were 2-0 up. And completely missed it. And then obviously seeing when they scored, and I think at 2-0 you start to really worry for Rangers. They get themselves back into it, and then a ridiculous decision from John Lundstrom. And I think Celtic in the second half, while it only finished 2-1, they could have scored 3, 4, 5 goals. So I think the better team on the day won.
I noticed there you said ridiculous decision. I was waiting to see if you said John Lundstrom or Willie Collum. Alan, I'll bring you in on that. Was that a red card? I know some people have said it wasn't. A lot of other people have said it was. What do you think?
Joe Hart playing it short. It's not a great ball. Lundstrom smashes into the challenge on Johnston. Willie Collum didn't like it. He's got, I think, plenty of the ball there, but he's taken a heck of a lot of the Canada international as well. And John Lundstrom has a yellow card flashed in his face by Willie Collum.
I think in today's game, it's a red card because of the way the rules have changed. I think when myself played and when Richard played, we would have said that was a really good tackle. But because now with VAR being involved in the game,
they're checking for a possible red card here as well against John Lundstrom. After that, it wouldn't be the first time Willie Collum is stuck with his on-field decision. But here he goes. He's going to John Lundstrom, and the yellow's going to be upgraded to red here. And Rangers, having got themselves back into the game with Desser's goal, are down to 10. John Lundstrom sent off in first half stoppage time with his team trailing 2-1. And have Rangers title hopes disappeared up the tunnel with Lundstrom, whose Rangers league career might well have just ended in ignominy here.
And when you actually slow it down impact and you see where he's caught him, that then comes under the argument then, is he in control of his body? And he's got his stud showing, and this is what FIFA and IFAB have wanted to crack down on. So from that point of view, I would say it is a red card. But I could obviously not have a full-blown conversation or argument with someone who thought it wasn't a red card, because they would have points for it not being a red card. And realistically, I think once that happened, Rangers' chances of getting results evaporated as well. From that, because it's difficult as it is. Richard will know and myself will know, playing in these old firm games, one of the biggest things that you talk about before the game is making sure that you keep 11 players on the pitch, because people can lose their heads. They make silly decisions. They get caught up in the emotion of the game. And for me, realistically, did John Lumsden have to make that tackle? And it was a little bit, it was reckless. And then, the second half, I think we all know that Celtic could have scored more goals, but Rangers have got to realistically not lose the game. So so they have to throw caution to the wind. So I think it definitely was a fair result. It could have been more, but it could have easily been a nervy time for Celtic if John Lumsden or Rangers would have kept 11 players on the pitch.
And I think it was still a bit nervy at times, despite that man advantage. And it felt like it almost epitomised the season, really. Celtic just that little bit better, but never maybe entirely convincing. Is that fair, do you think, Richard?
I think the issue you have is, when teams go down to 10 men, typically most teams will play with an extra man at the back. So if other team attack with 3, you've got 4. If they attack with 4, you've got 5. But what Rangers do then is they just go man for man at the back. So therefore, you still have an extra, a less man, of course you do. But in terms of the attack, you still have the same amount of men you're attacking with, because you're just prepared now to go man for man and you release an extra player forward. On the flip side, you see what happened in the second half and the amount of breakaways that Celtic had and the times that they should have done better and been more clinical. So I think in terms of that, and the fact that Celtic then don't score, then there's a nervousness. Obviously, the crowd can probably start to feel that. Then and Rangers only need a break of the ball. They need a ball into the box and a ridiculous VAR handball decision. They need anything. So in that sense, when Celtic don't score the third, or the fourth, then it naturally becomes that more nervous, because they know that they're so close to such a pivotal victory.
And really, the league title this season seems to have been decided in these old firm games. That's 3 wins and a draw for Celtic this season. Brendan Rodgers, he just seems to have won over Philippe Clement at the moment, doesn't he?
He certainly does. I think there's no doubt about that. And I think when you look back at the season, we've always said, whether it's this season or whether it was 20 years ago, the old firm games more often than not will decide where the league goes. And Celtic's performances and results in them are the reason why they're in the position that they're in. And I think when you think about, I think from a Rangers point of view, you look at the job that Philippe Clement's done and you would overall say he's definitely improved things. But when you look in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, when the season's finished, he's only a point better off than when he took over. So, and I don't think at times Celtic have been great. And I know he's building the club, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of players moving on from Rangers in the summer. But I look at Rangers and I think they're a different style to Celtic. I think Celtic are definitely, want to play and want to play around you, and a lot more technical. Whereas I think Rangers have become a much more physical team, where they've tried to bully teams and get results that way.
You're listening to the Scottish Football Podcast.
Well, let's take a look at Saturday's other games now. Some result for Motherwell in Dingwall. Richard, how pleased were you guys with that?
Yeah, everyone was absolutely buzzing. I think, the last time we went up there, we got turned over quite convincingly. So you always want to kind of correct that before the season ends. And I thought we had a lot of control in the game. Scored an early goal, kind of fortuitous. It's something that the guys had worked on. Obviously, they don't work on the goalkeeper making a mistake, but the striker pulling the centre half out of the way and Blair Spittle making that run was definitely something that the manager got them to work on. So kind of great from his point of view that they scored a goal like that. I think he spoke about it in his interview. And then they kind of score against the run of play. Good goal on their part. Simon Murray doing what he does best, latches onto a through ball and scores. then we get ourselves ahead before the second half, and Ross County rallied. They came out in the second half. They threw everything at us. I think they start to lose a bit of shape. So then we find it difficult to cope with what they're doing because they obviously need to win the game. And then to be fair to them, to be fair to the Motherwell players, I thought they defended the box really well. Don't think Liam Kelly never had too much to do. So in terms of that, it was great. And then I think Ross County just ran out of steam. And in the last 10 minutes, the quality players that we've got and the quality of football that we play at times kind of came to the fore, and we scored three fantastic goals to round off a very pleasing trip to the Highlands.
And obviously a sore one for the Staggies, but no worse off now than they were at the start of the weekend after St Johnstone were also defeated. Alan, were you surprised they lost to Livingston, who of course have played quite well and picked up some good results after they've already been relegated?
Yeah, I think, you've got the contrast of two teams who have got different things to fight with. When you've obviously known that you've been relegated, when I say the pressure's off, you know that you're just going out to play, and the players are the same. They're fighting for next season now, realistically, to stay there. And all the pressure is on St Johnstone, to get a result, trying to, stay away from that second to bottom place with Ross County. So the pressure was all on St Johnstone at the weekend in that game. And the one thing that Livingston have always done, they've scrapped the way to get results. I think there's definitely an element of that. And also, they're playing for a bit of pride now.
Absolutely. Well, the two teams meet on Wednesday, St Johnstone and Ross County, all to play for, really, in that game. It'll be unbelievably tense. Who do you think will come out better when the pressure's really on?
Two former clubs as well. You put me right in the spot there. I think Ross County have more goals in the team. I think Simon Murray's got a great return for a team that are kind of near the bottom of the league. They've also got the option of Jordan White, who's he came on the pitch yesterday and makes a difference because of his aerial prowess. So I think for me, it's all about can St Johnstone stop Ross County scoring, and then obviously kind of nick a goal up the other end. I know they actually played quite well yesterday and missed a few chances, but I think for me, I would slightly favour Ross County. Having said that, I don't think their record in Perth is very good, and their record away from home is not very good. So I think if I had to pick one, I'd say County. But I'm usually wrong, so we'll see what happens.
I like that, Richard, though. No sitting on the fence. Finally, Kilmarnock got a Europa League spot after beating St Mirren. How impressed have you been, Alan, with Derek McInnes this season? Obviously just lost out to John McGlynn on Manager of the Year as well.
He's done a brilliant job. I think everybody will be right in saying, how good of a job he's done there. Derek's a very experienced manager, and he's been at some big clubs. He's done a really good job, obviously at Aberdeen, and was there for a number of years. And then, I think what you're seeing on all with Derek is that he's growing a team, and they're steadily becoming a team that looks like they're going to be challenging for a European spot now every season. And I think that's a really important thing for Kilmarnock. You look at the results and all the performances more so that they've put in against the Old Firm this season and all, and they've given them a real fight at times, and they've won them fixtures as well. So he's done a very good job. I'm not surprised. He's a great guy, Derek. He knows exactly what he wants from his players. The players, I think, are very clear in how they have to play under Derek, and I'm delighted for him. It's been a great season for Kilmarnock, and topped off with European football next season.
It'll be very interesting to see who they'll eventually play on their European travels. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Many thanks to Alan and to Richard, and thank you for listening. Sports Scene will have the SWPL highlights from 7 o'clock on the BBC Scotland channel on Monday evening. And remember, we publish new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast every weekday morning, so you can get your daily dose of news, views and analysis bright and early. So make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you listen. There we go. That's everything for today. Like I say, thank you very much for joining us.
Hi,
Hi, it's Amy Irons here. I just wanted to tell you that Sacked in the Morning is back for a new series. We are your survival guide to football management. If you want to hear exactly what goes on in the dugouts and dressing rooms across the world, then we are the pod for you. And as ever, I'll be joined by former Scotland gaffer Craig Levine and some of football's best managers to provide all the insight you could possibly need. And you can find it on BBC Sounds. Just search for Sacked in the Morning.